quick update with the engine for the devillen project, which we've had together for weeks and weeks. Come check it out though. Here it is. This is our 396 402. It's actually a 402 because it's 40 over 396. And we have all new pistons, which are just cast, or these might be hyperautectic. No, these are just cast. They don't have too much available for this without making a custom piston. Like I said, this build is going to be mostly stock, but we want to see what it's going to do with the supercharger bolted on there. So we have gotten our heads back. Come on over here. We've gotten our heads back from the cylinder head service.
Oh, my dad used to work there.
Yeah?
They're perfect.
Yeah, they're all right. And we ended up having to get new intake valves. So if you see, we have new intake valves. The exhaust valves are old ones. And that is because of our coil spring height. We needed to have, I think it's 1.930 or some shit like that. And we had to get intake valves that were 1/100th longer than the original. The exhaust worked with a different retainer system, or retainer eliminators. Nonetheless, it worked out. So these guys are fresh back and ready to go. I think he milled these. It looks like they've been milled. Maybe not though, because these were fresh heads before we started. So anyway, we got them back. They're ready to go, ready to install. Right now, I'll slap some studs in here, which all need to have sealant on them. I always just wrap them in thread tape. I will show you that on my last little bits. But here those are. And we'll get the head gaskets installed. And I'll show you a couple tricks I like to do for those as well. But I'll get these slapped in here and I'll check with you in a minute. Alright, here we are. We got the first head kind of slapped on here. But we had an issue. Watch yourself on that gasket. We had an issue with the center studs being too long. I didn't notice, but they sent me the kit for a big block Chevy with Edelbrock heads. That little piece of shit gonna focus?
No.
Anyway, nonetheless. So we have, this thing actually has 5 different lengths of studs when the standard stock block and stock heads only takes 3 different lengths. So this middle stud is a little shorter than these guys here, which you can't tell because it's barely threaded in. These are shorter in length, and then all the rest of them are supposed to be the same length. These guys are right. So for now I just have enough to set it together. We can't torque the thing down. I just ordered a new kit, which I swear we ordered the right one to begin with, but we'll see what shows up. So nonetheless, we'll get this all snapped together at least and dummied up, but I just wanted to touch base with you because before I put the head gaskets in, I always like to shoot them with the copper. Spray a gasket, it's just high temp sealant, but I always like to just shoot them first. And just shoot them liberally, nice and thick. Don't be afraid to get them when you don't want it running. But at the same time, if there is runs and drips and you're putting them on an engine that you're putting together right away, all that'll smash out pretty quick when you torque it down together. But nonetheless, I wouldn't recommend it. But again, it's not the end of the world. Nice fat. Which kind of defeats the whole purpose, as we're not torquing these down tonight, but it's still nice to coat them with the copper shit. Oh, here we go. Now, this is just the standard Felpro felt gasket. whatever the fuck they are. But on a multi-layered steel gasket, you cannot put the studs in before the head gasket. You have to put the head gasket on first and then put the studs on afterwards. I didn't tighten any of these down because as I did on the other side, I noticed that some of the lengths were short. So you want to tighten them down after you get everything in place. Slap this big ugly pig on down. Bam. Now, like I say, with the fact that we're not torquing this down, I don't know that it defeats the purpose of copper or not, because you still have a, whatever the hell this thing weighs, 60 or 70 pounds sitting on top of it, so it has nice good pressure on it. But it is not the same as being torqued down. We get this one bolt on there, the one nut on the center stud. Center stud. Okay, so there that is. This is basically done. We need to install the lifters, push rods, but the guide plates are too small, so I need to change those. But for now, we will kind of dummy this thing up and get back with you guys here in a couple seconds, and you can see what it's going to look like when we're finished, for those of you that haven't seen it yet. Alright, I'll get back with you guys here in a second. Alright, here we are with everything dummied up and in place. Kinda. Not quite everything either. We still have to get our accessories on here. But I want to get this all together before I start buying this. I need to know if it's short or long water pump. And this, I want to change to a Gilmer style pulley. Get rid of the serpentine setup. Although I do have the lower pulley to make it all work. So here it is. This is for the devillen project, which will be our supercharged 396, and we're right at 8.4 to 1 on the compression before the supercharger. Excuse me. But here we are. I was hoping to have this thing all slapped together and sitting in the car before we go, but I don't think I'm going to have it together before we move. So this will be the first thing we do when we get to our new location, wherever it may be. And as far as this goes, it's going to be all, I'm pretty sure I want to shoot it semi-gloss or gloss black. I'm not sure. I won't shoot the valve covers. We'll leave those how they are. And we're going to leave this an accent, a shiny accent, the timing cover. But we'll go over this a little bit more. I mean, you guys can always ask questions. But it has a 652 lift. I don't recall the duration right offhand. It's got a gear drive in it. It's a pretty nasty setup. It should be pretty fun. And we should be able to bump this thing up to 10, 15 pounds of boost. We'll see how it works out. We gapped the spark plug rings, or excuse me, the rings. And we tightened down the gap on the spark plugs too. They're at about 25 thousandths. They're not installed yet, but the ring gap is opened up. I don't know what else. Right now I'm pretty exhausted, so like I say, we'll go over specs on it later on. But there it is. She's just about ready to go. We have all the gaskets. We have headers for it. We have everything we need. We just got to get her in place. Yeah, so here shortly, we'll get that thing wrapped up. As soon as I get those ARPs, I'll go over stud torque specs with you and all that good stuff. Now, if you're using ARP bolts, you're at about 70 pounds of torque, and with the studs, you have to knock it up to about 80 pounds. But yeah, we'll go over that this next video. But for now, there she is updated. Now you guys can see her. She's all pretty. And it's not quite as pretty as it should be, but it's ready to be assembled. And I'm not sure what we're going to do for the air cleaner setup on it. We're going to do some sort of scoop. I'm not sure. Probably the shotgun style, but I don't know. We'll have a look-see when we get out there. Carbs have already been rebuilt and calibrated. Those have actually been rebuilt and calibrated by Marty Stromberger, as well as my turbo stuff. And the distributor has been dialed in by Marty, which I'm not sure. He did his little, there's his little, I don't know, his little record of what he did, because he does so much shit, he'll forget about it. But yeah, everything is dialed in, ready to go. So when it does actually head to his place for some timing and tuning, it'll be minimal. Be careful, don't kill yourself back there. It'll be minimal, and I don't have to leave my car there for weeks. So he does everything, he just has to do a real quick tune, and we can get it back. So yeah, for tonight, that is that. So yeah, just like, share, and subscribe. If you guys like the content, we'll see you later. I'm starting to get a little bit more time to myself, so I won't be as exhausted and I won't be rushing through these things anymore. But for now, just a real quick update. And we'll see you later.